Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and welcome to the Southrn Magic Podcast. I'm your host, Matt, and I'm joined by Grant, as always, and a very special guest, friend of the show, David. How are you doing, David? What's going on?
Oh, I'm very tired. But I'm doing good, guys. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
No, absolutely.
Yeah, I gotta say, I'm like definitely your biggest fan on this podcast. I love everything that you guys do with it, all the streams, all the videos, all of the podcasts and the services that you do for the tournament scene out here. It's been great.
Well, thank you. That is very kind coming from you. That is awesome.
Appreciate the kind words. Let's edit David a little bit. We need to add one little title. Pro Tour competitor David Dunham, friend of the podcast.
Like that.
David did
or scrub. Add scrub in parentheses.
It doesn't matter. You made it to the Pro Tour. You made it. You could put that you put that on your resume now.
That did check a box off for me in this 11 years I've been playing this game.
Damn, you're old.
Yeah, I know, right? No, I think about it sometimes.
Pro Tour competitor, David. Is it okay if I say your last name? I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's
okay.
fine.
David Dunham. Yeah, Pro Tour competitor David Dunham.
Yeah.
No,
I thought of this. A SWAT team just breaks into the room and drags me out. It's like, we got him, boys. I mean, we were just all hanging out yesterday at the Birmingham Championship Series. So it's like basically like we never left. What was that Mexican restaurant we went to?
Habaneros.
Yeah. Oh, okay, yeah, habanero.
Rest in peace, habanero. So small tangent. Habanero. I used to have a habanero. I'm from the Birmingham area, which is the greater Birmingham conglomerate, like 30 minutes to an hour. In one of the cities that I lived in had a habaneros, and that was the place to go to Sunday after church. And you had to get out a little early, or else the Baptists would all get there, and you would have nowhere to sit. But seeing habaneros every time I drive by, I'm like, man, this is my habaneros.
We had a habaneros in the town where I'm in, and that was some of the best Mexican food that I've ever had. I guess it's just like you kind of like what you grew up with. I feel like there's always like a restaurant or two that you eat when you're little, and that's just kind of like the gold standard for whatever you want. Usually when you grow up with like Mexican restaurants or Italian or whatever. But yeah, no, I feel you there.
I think I actually have the opposite of that, where when I was a kid, I used to love Pizza Hut. And now I think it's the worst. I don't know if they've changed something or since I was a child, but that is, God, the worst. I don't know. It's just the worst out of the chains. Arguably the worst pizza.
Well,
it's pretty bad.
Anywhere.
I feel you. I feel you there. The only thing that Pizza Hut had going for it for the longest time was that was the only place that you could get stuffed crust from. Because Domino's doesn't do it, Papa John's didn't do it, Little Caesars, none of those did that. Now everybody does it except for Domino's. I don't think.
Absolutely correct.
Well, that's because
right.
Domino's has really cracked the stuffed cheesy bread.
Yes.
Like the cheese in the bread, that stuff is cracked. But it's like the patent for stuffed crust cheese, like expired, and it like the Popeyes chicken sandwich was like revolutionary. And then you notice like a year later, it's like, oh, Wendy's has a chicken sandwich that's just like it. McDonald's has a chicken sandwich that's just like it. All these other fast food restaurants have a chicken sandwich that's like, it's that big it's like that big breast with the really extra crunchy and the brioche bun with like the thick pickles. And it's like, oh, the patent expired.
Chick-fil-A's patent probably expired on it.
They keep that shit on lockdown.
I feel like I have to preface this by saying I love every person of every gender identity. Man, I love Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A is the best. Like, it's like
canceled. We're canceled.
I know. It's like
would say that, like, got my pride bandana on, man.
I know. Like, I just.
Hey, it's Southern magic. You know what you're tuning into.
You got it. Hands down, I don't care if they freaking support death squads in Uganda for gay people. There's a good fucking chicken sandwich.
Yeah. I think that's an interview with Pete Buttigieg, where he was like, I'll improve their politics, but man, that is a good sandwich.
Good sandwich. To move on to the topic of today, getting off food, I have a little something I'd like to play before we get into it.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Are you?
Oh, it's not going through. Oh, damn.
I heard.
I
heard it for half a second.
All right, hold on. Let me see if I can rewind it back a bit. All right, and we can edit that out.
I just heard one trombone note. I know
we came for half a. I know what you. Yeah, we know what you're talking about too.
Cat.
The death salute or the 21 gun salute. Is that what they play?
Oh no. This is a rest and piss day for me, honestly. Like okay. I know you're a mono green player, so I know the Karn ban is probably what you're a little bit more tore up about. So
God.
I understand that. You were killing it with Recto Sacrifice though yesterday. So like
just give me one. I just wanted one deck. One deck that Karn the Great Creator was good in that wasn't Tron. And I lost it.
well, yeah. Well, since we're kind of on the topic, I'll just for anybody, if you're listening to this on, I'm not sure if it's going to go up on Tuesday or Wednesday, but if just to kind of recap what happened. So today is Monday. This morning at about 10 a.m., the ban announcement got released, and for standard, we saw no changes. Basically, the only changes we saw were well, I'll just say, so in Pioneer, we had Karn the Great Creator was banned, Geological Appraiser is banned, Smuggler's Copter is unbanned. And then Modern, we have Fury was banned, which everybody was rooting for, and Up the Beanstalk is banned. And then there were a couple of changes to Explorer and Pauper. Explorer, Karn Great Creator was banned as there as well, and Geological Appraiser was banned, and Monastery Swiss Spear was banned, and Pauper. Rip them. So
rest to every single Pauper player ever, because everyone has their main deck. And then, like, you know, the different, like, all sorts of, like, walls, familiars. But everyone's got burn sleeved up. Everyone's got some mono red slide deck. It's just part of the format. Everyone has a mono red deck that because it's like $10. Yeah. It's $10 to put together.
The budget,
I think it's even cheaper.
The budget entry got a little bit harder for Pauper, I guess, with that.
Yeah, I think, like, the printing of just some of those cards into common, because first off, the Spear is not a common level card. Like, it's common in, like, the Master Series. So, like, that's how, like, that format really, like, that's like our modern Masters, right? for that for Pauper, whenever, like, those Eternal Series sets come out and they have to downgrade an uncommon to a common, and that format just blows up because of it.
Yeah, tell me about it. I was there when a lot of stuff got downshifted to common, and let me tell you what, all those people in Brazil who play Pauper, they just went nuts, baby.
Y'all can carry on for a second. I've got to step away to the restroom really quick. Be right back.
Yeah, let's put the cat on the podcast.
Yeah, put the cat on the podcast. Yo, what up, Cat? How do you feel? Cat, how do you feel about the unban of Smuggler's Copter?
just wanted him to just turn.
Interesting choice.
He doesn't
Interesting
have any.
choice of words.
I'm sure he would have
Silence.
preferred ley line
Oh.
binding or ley line of abundance.
Oh.
Bring back Felidar Guardian. Bring back that combo.
I have a great anecdote about Felidar Guardian. So,
do you want to save this for the podcast?
Oh yeah,
Or is this good content?
Yeah.
I was about to say, I feel sometimes
it is pretty good content. Yeah.
Oh, it's good content.
It's like it's from an old day at like in Troy, Alabama. There used to be the game store Fanatics, and it was like run by one dude whose like dad was a professor or whatever, and it was just like held together. So we were talking about the Pioneer unbans, and we were like, unban Felidar Guardian, and I have a great story about Felidar Guardian. So back in the day in Troy, Alabama, where I went to college, there was a game store called Fanatics. Rest in peace, it does not exist anymore. But it was like a chain of like the Wiregrass area, really small kind of local game store that like everyone just kind of went to. But they had a really good standard scene. And this one guy, my buddy, played the Felidar Guardian combo. And so they were playing standard the day that it got banned. Like they saw the announcement as they were playing standard. And at the end of it, he walked outside, took his Felidar Guardians, and lit them on fire.
I mean, they are pretty garbage after that.
It was a great story because as we were cleaning out Fanatics, as we were like, because it moved location, it like went under new management, moved locations. We were taking apart one of the tables, and we found a Felidar Guardian like burnt to a crisp.
Found the ashen remains.
The ashen remains of a Felidar Guardian underneath the table.
Oh my goodness! It's funny you say that. I actually have a similar funny story to Felidar Guardian. So the day that ban announcement got made, there was like some standard local tournament or some modern weekly tournament I was at, and one of our friends literally bought his playset of Felidar Guardians, handed the money to the cashier, and got his cards back so that he could play standard at the GP that was coming up that weekend. And then literally sat down and they were like, "Oh, Felidar Guardian got banned." And he just threw his hands up. It's like, damn it.
Well, that sucks. That sucks for him, but it doesn't suck for me and David because we are the MTG Finance champions.
Oh yeah, we are. I think we've made some great strives.
Digging out the old Smuggler's Copter. So
no, good on y'all for sure.
No, I don't think you understand. So I was telling him earlier that I had this stack of Smuggler's Copters since it got banned in standard. And I was like, this card's going to be great in modern. So I started picking them up for super duper cheap. And then I never got played. I don't know if it ever saw serious play. Not serious play in modern, but well, Pioneer became a format.
Yeah.
And I was like, sweet. Like the card's back. Like, and then before I could actually make my money back, banned again. So
yep.
I've been sitting on these cards for the good part of like, when did Kaladesh come out? Like, it's been 6 years.
I think it was 2016. I was in college when Pro Tour Kaladesh was going on.
Right around the time that I moved here, or maybe the year before.
That's 7 years ago.
Yeah, so that is right. 7 years ago.
I meant to say something about that. Yeah, you're repping the Team Supreme. Yeah, that's awesome. I always loved y'all's jerseys. That's such a great design.
We love them too. We have so Drake Sasser had he was on our team for a little while before he went and won the Legacy SEG Open all those years ago. And he's always an amazing player, became well known after that, and he's doing great things in the game now. But we say to this day, or at least I do, that he sucked all of the luck out of G's jerseys because I have never once had a good even in like not even in like local tournaments, I've never done well in this jersey. So like, I think Plus as a collective had just
okay.
stopped wearing it. So this has been just like gathering dust in the back of my closet for like years now.
Like,
Busting the drip out for the podcast. I like it.
Oh yeah, I had to bring it out, man. Shout out to you guys, the Team Supreme, the guys who are left playing. I love all of them too. We still all have a group chat, and now it's just called like the Messy Fan Club or something like that.
we have a. I kind of feel you there. We had a group chat as well for our team that we had going for a little bit, and then it just inevitably just turned into a meme chat. So, so yeah, no, I feel you
Actually,
there.
you know what? I want to take that back because shout out to our friend Matt Foreman for
Oh
getting
yeah,
second place in Dallas, the last Dallas RC, and then being top 16. I want to say he was top 16 at Worlds.
he was. He
Yeah,
was
And he
top
went
16.
phenomenal, man. He's been
Yeah,
so good, such a good player.
no, yeah, no. Matt
Mhm.
Matt
yeah.
is
Shout out.
cracked for sure.
It's crazy to think about, like, we're not like, I mean, we're not like Denver, levels of like competitive players, or like Boston or something like that. But Alabama's got a couple of good players hanging around. Alabama's got a couple of good players in the
Got some
circuit.
sleepers,
Hmm.
Oh
sleeper
yeah.
cells out here waiting to come back.
No,
So
absolutely.
on to discussion of the bands. I think, as much as I hate to say it, as much as I truly hate to say it, Karn did need to go.
Yeah,
Karn
Yes.
did need to go, because throughout today, I was like thinking about, like, man, it's not like Karn's just the best payoff for all that mana. Like, yeah, you can cast one Eldrazi, but Karn is a payoff that continues, like, it pays off every turn it's in play. You
Yeah.
can like you can go get two things from your sideboard that are like really expensive. You can get the 8 mana destroy
Cityscape
something.
leveler.
Hmm.
Cityscape leveler. You can just get it has access to a convoluted combo that wins the game sometimes, but like, it's I think the biggest thing about it, and citing the article, I really agree with, was it warped the metagame around it.
Hmm.
The fact that it was a main deck staple that was a Stony Silence, just the extra tack of the Stony Silence on it kind of warped a lot of things around it. Like, you had to, like, even if the metagame share was declining, even if the deck like lost to a lot of aggressive matchups, and it was just such a presence where it's like, oh, your brew is great. Does it beat mono green?
Hmm.
Oh, that's cool. But oh, your deck has this great spread of like matchups, and you've got good sideboard tools. Does it beat mono green? Can it beat a turn 2 4/4 with trample? You know, or does it have a tool to deal with like a planeswalker? No. All right, then you're just conceding the mono green matchup. And it even got to the point where I remember in Dallas, a lot of people who were on red black mid range, one of Mono Green's best matchups, were just like, yeah, we just can't win. So we're just gonna cut a bunch of stuff from the sideboard. We're just gonna say that if you go up against Mono Green, good luck, because you're probably
Hmm.
not gonna win, and there's no point in dedicating any time to beating it. And so I think Karn was the best card to take away from Mono Green, to because it can still function as like a ramp deck. You still have access to Nykthos. You still have access to Kiora, all the elves. It can still function as a ramp deck. It just takes out this metagame warping card. And so for that, rest in peace, Karn, you beautiful bastard. Shout out to your service aboard the Weatherlight. Thank you for taking Urza's spark, that bastard. You were great. You did so much for me. Rest in peace.
Is this the MTG lore part of the podcast? You remember I used to follow that stuff. But no, you've got a great point with Karn. Karn needed to go for a lot of reasons, and for a long time I felt like it's needed to go. It was one of the top 3 cards, I think, before Appraiser, that needed to probably be banned from Pioneer. Not only, I think that in their live stream, Magic's live stream last week, when they started talking more about little snippets of ideas of what they wanted to have on the ban list, that like Karn was Green's get out of the jail free card. There was literally
Yeah.
like you had to fight this deck on, like, you have to already fight this deck on so many angles, whether it be the ramp angle, the drawing cards every time a big creature enters angle, the Storm the Festival angle, and then once you've gotten around all of that, then Karn just comes down and it's just
Mhm.
like, I'm gonna tutor the perfect card to get out of the situation, and tutor the perfect card to win the game, and then that's gonna be it. So they hit the nail on the head perfectly. That was my big thing with Mono Green, that you could never have a great sideboard against it. It was like, whenever I was playing in sideboards for Mono Green, I'm just like, I've got like 5 one-ups that like answer like there's graveyard thing, Karn for pivoting it over Karn, something dampening fear for Nykthos, and then you still just didn't have enough.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you were either taking against like Monogreen's main board game or their like Karn sideboard game, and it was just like hard to like do both of those simultaneously. So
Mm.
no, I absolutely agree. Now it was always like with Rakdos versus Karn or versus Mono Green, it was always like the Jund versus Tron like challenge. Like it was just they just go so bigger than you, and so usually like the bigger mid range deck wins when you talk about a mid range mirror. And Green just goes so big against Rakdos, and then if you somehow manage to get through that, yeah, you had the whole Karn thing to deal with, and then they'll get through you that way. So it was just
Yeah.
incredibly maddening to try to play from the Rakdos side of things. But
And
go ahead. Sorry.
and I think it's like it's not, and I think the whole thing is that it also made it difficult. And I know that they didn't put this in the article, but when I look at that, and when they talk about artifacts not being very useful, to me it harkens back to when they banned faithless looting in Modern. The argument was, we have to ban this because we can't keep designing cards around it. We can't keep we have these great ideas for Graveyard Matters cards, but Faithless Looting just breaks it in half. We
Mhm.
can't keep designing good things for the graveyard without without keeping in mind a Faithless Looting. And so I think that's another thing, to me, why Karn probably should have gone, is that Agatha's Soul Cauldron, that is a cool card. That is an awesome concept. Too bad it gets turned off by Karn. Too bad it gets turned off by Karn.
Yeah.
Uh,
Similar to like Teferi, the Teferi Time Reveler just shuts down. As
exactly,
soon as it hits the
exactly.
battlefield, shuts down any opposition that you may have for it, whether it's counter spells or any, which would probably the best way to fight against control decks is counter spells, or any
Or
instant
just
speed combo deck, or anything similar to that. Like, I think that that's a good benchmark for whether a card should be banned in, especially Pioneer, because Pioneer is like much more similar to Standard than it is to like Modern, where there shouldn't be a card that just like shuts down an aspect of the game itself, where you just cannot play this aspect of the game because this card is out and it's
Mhm.
so good.
and there's plenty of like prison-esque cards that you can print, but I at least for Pioneer, for where Pioneer's at right now, it's got to be soft. I think Pioneer's a format where there's not enough tools that you can print those hard prison style cards like Trinisphere or Blood Moon. It's got to be kind of softer, like Alpine Moon or like Athalia Guardian of Thraben. It's got to be those softer prison elements until maybe eventually cards things are going to get power crept to hell. But I think at least for right now, I really like that as that what you said, David. I really agree with that.
Yeah, which brings us to Faithless Looting. Not to say that it's power crept, but certainly the power creep of the format has made that card possible to come back into the Pioneer format. Were talking about unbanning a card from the ban list, that's the first card that came into my mind with Faithless Looting. There was like maybe what's the
Well,
maybe
Faithless
Iteration
Looting,
might be the next least powerful card on that ban
Faithless
list. That's just
Looting,
slightly too good.
it's not banned in Pioneer because it's not in Pioneer.
No,
It's only
did
printed
I
in.
say looting or
You said
iteration?
looting.
Oh,
You
excuse
said
me. I
looting.
meant to say expressive iteration.
Yeah, I'm with
Mm.
you. I think expressive iteration is Pioneer. I think with the amount of free stuff that's in Pioneer, I think that expressive iteration is a fine card because the problem with it in
Yeah.
like Legacy is that like you've got baubles, you've got force of wills, you've got all the sorts of like crazy stuff that operates on low mana, and that's just the perfect kind of thing. But I think in Pioneer, like it's a great card advantage card
Yeah.
in my
It's a
opinion.
draw spell and a land drop in Pioneer more so
Mhm.
than it is in like Pioneer modern and Legacy for sure. But yeah, no. So Karn, not gonna miss you, buddy. But but as far as the other like exciting thing for Pioneer, Smuggler's Copter is unbanned. So this is something that I feel like people were kind of expecting to happen. I had no idea. Like I was completely off base last week because I know that we were thinking it was going to be a green card that was going to be unbanned to make mono green still playable, which it is right now, but it's just lost a lot of its power, like raw power without Karn. But now with Smuggler's Copters, so that's going to open up um just a lot of avenues for aggro decks too. Like I know that the thing that I've been seeing around going on Twitter a lot just today is people are like everybody who's on Greasefang is just hyped AF about this card. So, and I meant to ask that, is there some interaction that I'm missing? I mean, I know that you can play it and loot away like a big artifact vehicle and play it and then do the Greasefang thing. Is there something else about that that's like nutso, or is it just like an amazing include in the deck just all around?
I think that people might be overrating that card a little bit. And I was just talking to like some of the people that I'm testing with for the Atlanta RC about this card in Greasefang. I feel that it is a really good turn to play. Probably one of the best turn two plays in Pioneer right now, for at least one of the top ones now. But when you look at how Greasefang plays the game, Greasefang is all about setting up for that turn two. Greasefang, get Parhelion back, get whatever artifact I've done put into the graveyard back onto the battlefield, and then start winning the game immediately with card advantage. How does Smuggler's Copter fit within that curve on turn two? So Smuggler Copter comes down on turn two. It's not looting anything until it attacks. So that deck already doesn't run that many creatures already. It's all the creatures that it runs are like creatures that help it set up for the combo. So you're not trying to play that a Smuggler's Copter over a Rafine's Informant, for
Mhm.
instance.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't see a situation where that deck wants to do that. So I feel like if you're not playing a Smuggler's Copter on turn two for it to be beneficial in your game, then it doesn't get like a lot of return the longer that the game goes. It's not it's the type of card that you want to play it as early as possible if you get more great. But the later that the game keeps going and going and going, you're not in the midst of a game, in the midst of a top deck war against an opponent, you're not top decking Smuggler's Copter and like, yeah, we're back in the game, boys.
Right.
It's one of those cards that like helps you snowball and kind of like loot away like bad cards so you can start and like find like your good curve toppers and kind of like play this actual tempo gain. And it helps gain more tempo as it keeps attacking, which is its power. But in Greasefang, you're really looking for cards in that 1 and 2 drop slot to set you up in order to win the game.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
I think maybe like we were talking about it a little bit. It's a could possibly even be a sideboard card, or maybe just a couple in the main deck, just so you have another angle of attack with this deck. But
Or
those are like some of the reasons why I'm like not too hyped about it in the Grease Fang deck. Other decks, I mean, it's sure it'll be perfectly fine. Any creature deck would certainly want it. Creature aggro deck, because even before it got banned, the only deck that it saw play in was really the mono black aggro deck. There were a few other aggro decks that also played it, but mono black was definitely the best thing to do in aggro. Arguably one of the best decks in the format when Pioneer came out.
Yeah, no, Mono Black was tearing it up when it first came out. Basically, the deck that made Smuggler's Copter get banned in the first place, I think, was just Mono Black.
So
Just
I
how
think that's
powerful
the
it was.
strategy you want to stick to with that card, which I don't think it doesn't slot into Grease Fang that well according to its plan.
I think it can slot in as like a 2 of, because I can definitely see Grease Fang. I see a lot of Grease Fang lists running more protection for their combo in the main decks now. So like I've seen a couple of silences. So I can see where the plan is now more like, because with mono green gone, you can or like, you know, the combo stuff gone, you can see more like things open up, and there might be more interactive decks coming around. So I could see like the curve becoming turn 1 Thoughtseize, turn 2 Copter, turn 3 Rafine's Informant, crew the Copter attack. Now you've seen two extra cards. And you've put in, and you have the potential to put in that big game ending threat. And so if you've gone land from 1 to 4, now you've got Silence, Grease Fang, Get Back Parhelion Swing. You know,
So the idea like is just that it's kind of like slots in as you're waiting to both have protection and the
yeah. But I don't
combo
see it as
itself.
in Grease Fang specifically. I don't see it as a 4 of. The deck that I would see this card potentially making a stronger impact is the Gruul mid range decks. I think so. Gruul mid range used to be Gruul vehicles, and then they just kind of cut the boat and just kind of went with mid range. I could see that deck kind of coming down on the curve a little bit more, not specifically to like the Atarka versions of it, but like, you know, turn 1 Elf, turn 2 Copper crew, turn 2 Smuggler's Copter, crew the Copter, get in for 3. You know,
Certainly a
oh
great use
well.
for elves, and I played that deck for a very long time, and I will tell you this: that deck has, not that it needed a 2-drop, but having a 2-drop that's very reliable and very powerful, that also works with if
Or
you're just top decking elves, very strong.
or like or even like you go Elf and it gets answered. Now you still have a turn 2 play. You still have a turn 2 play that is
That
a
was a huge thing
on
playing
curve.
that deck.
And I think also like another how I always beat those mid range decks was eventually it kind of came down to a top deck war when I was playing mono green. It kind of came down to, well, what do you have in your hand? And like a lot of the time, the games that were easy for me to win was they have 4 cards in their hand and it's all lands. Copter kind of eliminates that issue with that all aggro decks have of, damn it, I drew too many lands this game. Copter kind
Card
of
selection, like very valued, which is why I mean, again, that's why I got banned too. Gave very good, powerful card selection very early and curved, like kind of sculpted your hand while it's putting this pressure on you to find like the curve topper that you needed, or like the answer to something that you needed, in a evasive, powerful threat.
Yeah, and it's got flying. It's a flying 3/3. It's a Delver. It's a
Which is like,
insectile aberration.
I think it's coming to a good point in the format now where you have more answers to cards like that. Because beforehand there was like Fatal Push, and not many other things to really answer this threat, especially at the same mana curve,
And
or at
not
least beneficial to the mana
and
curve.
not a lot of good like answers to like artifacts as well when it's not a
Hmm.
creature, because you can always just like leave it and never turn it into a creature and they don't have a target for it with their Fatal Push. But like the printing of Terra Sunder from Dominaria, like that is a very reasonable card to put in a main deck mid-range deck that might be like that's like base green black. That's a good card to answer Smuggler's Copter.
Good card in
There are
general.
more Doom Blade effects in the format. There are more kill spells. And it's weak to Shieldred.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
So,
for sure, or good with Shieldred, depending on how you look at the form,
or good with
or very
Shieldred.
good with Shieldred, depending on how
Yeah.
you look at the matchup.
It's a 5 life swing with
Mhm.
Shieldred. So
Yeah, but as Shieldred comes down, that is pretty powerful. I got to write that down somewhere.
I'm just brewing up Jund midrange and oh, I'm a genius. It's
Yeah,
Jund. We're Junding again.
That's what's so interesting about Smuggler's Copter in particular is it's just such a good card. It like benefits if you run creatures. Like, I mean, obviously I don't see Control picking this up, but I mean, like if you run creatures, everyone's almost thinking like, man, I can play Smuggler's Copter now. Like everything can play it. So I was thinking when I saw that get unbanned, like, okay, this is really cool. What wants to play like the set of this? And I saw people saying Greasefang, and I'm kind of with you. Like, that's kind of awkward with what Greasefang's wanting to do. My first thought was to mono white. I feel like mono white could play this just because like when I was playing mono white, like, yeah, your creatures have the tendency to get really big, but there is a problem where like you're just drawing 2/1s like later in the game. Like, I feel like Smuggler's Copter could give it a little bit of staying power. It is a little bit awkward with Thalia, Guardian of Thraben, if that's your turn 2 play, but I feel like it could go good there personally. But I could also see it being good in Rakdos. Like, I mean, yeah, because of the interaction you said with Shieldred, like it's just such a good card. So, do you think maybe this just brings back Mono Black since this was the deck that? No, not really.
I think that stuff in the format now is so good and synergistic that Mono Black, it doesn't really, it had like an aggressive start with like good staying power, but I think decks in the format are much more powerful and much more synergistic. That strategy isn't quite good enough.
It doesn't go under the right. It's not low enough to go under some of the decks. It's not tall enough to go over decks. It's just like recursive threats just aren't. It's just not as good. I mean, it was good for its time, but I think power creep is a real thing. I think if you're going to play an aggressive deck, there are better options for an aggressive deck. If you're going to play like a recursive deck, there are better options for a recursive deck. I think it just gets so overpowered by like I just think if you're going to play a monocolored aggressive deck, you just got to play mono white. I think that you know
But at least this card opens up some options for sure. Because
yeah.
like aggro's been a little bit on the downswing, even more than mono green because of Phoenix and
Shieldred and
red black, whether it's sacrifice or the mid-range version control. And I mean, also we haven't talked about this at all, but appraiser, I mean, we could all say that needed to go.
yeah, goodbye. Bye.
Whoa, no. This person right here fought me last week about geological appraisers should stay.
No. Let's go back. I did not say it should stay. I was just merely offering opinion that I would not be surprised if it was not banned because of the track record of them not banning cards from a set that just released, and the fact that it's okay. I had the chance to play. Yeah, it's an
care less about it.
I had the chance to play against Geological Appraiser yesterday, and I've watched games of it. From my perspective, it's like the real power of the deck is just from the inevitability of eventually they're just going to get like a Carnosaur down, and they're going to start going off that way. The Carnosaur is going to get like something like the Geological Appraiser was just that, like, we're just going to move it down 3 mana from the curve. You're just gonna combo like 4 turns earlier.
Yeah,
And
like
because the combo can definitely easily. I've been playing Sacrifice. I love Sacrifice. That deck is sick. That would be my. If I was going to Atlanta, that would have been my choice for the RC. I feel like we could get into that later, but it felt like Appraiser was just that like because of how different Discover is from Cascade. You I think having that at the 4-drop slot was just not okay.
Yeah, open up way too much.
I am willing to be incorrect. It should have. It should be. It should have gone.
Yeah. Now it's turned into a much more manageable because it goes off, as you said, like Carnosaur is or Trumpetsaurus,
whatever. The big red,
the big dinosaur. Now it's like
Trumpeting Carnosaur. Put some respect on his. He missed the ban list, so you can still be scared of him in Quintorius, which I don't think.
Oh
personally.
man.
So I want to say this because you made this point earlier, Grant, where Harn was a deck that kept certain decks out of that format of Pioneer. Appraiser Geoform cut half of the Pioneer format completely out. Even between even mono green, loaded tree. And trust me, I played this. I did a lot of testing with this deck. Like the first time I ever saw this deck, I was actually playing with Will on the stream with red green. We were playing, and he just started going off on our second turn. And there's a very few number of decks that can answer that or beat that curve for the most part. And then there's this also interaction with that deck where you say inevitability, where you don't at any point you can just simply die to this deck, and if you're not holding up removal, then you're just dead. And it gets to the point in the game where you're just like, well, holding this removal, holding this removal. You're not putting any pressure. A lot of decks can't put the early turn 2, or turn 1 pressure on them and hold up removal. And then by then, they just play the Carnosaur, which you can't answer, and then the game is over.
That exact scenario happened to me when I was playing against it at the BCS. I had the Doomblade effect in my hand. I can never remember the card name, but it's one in a black, either discard or pay 3, destroy target.
Bitter Triumph.
Bitter Triumph, yeah. I literally skipped my second turn just to hold this up, just in case. He just went land go. And I went, okay, land, 1 drop, still holding it up. Go. And it got to the point where like I had missed so many mana turns of using my mana just so I could hold up this removal spell that he eventually just like he played the giant, and I was like, well, I'm not going to kill that. And then he played a copy effect on the giant, and I was like, and this was a turn when I was like, okay, I can kind of maybe not hold it up. I've got a fatal push. A fatal push with a treasure should be able to kill something. And then the next turn he ripped a Carnosaur and just went Carnosaur. He goes Discover. I was like, well, I'll kill the mirror image. And he flips into an Eldritch Evolution, and he evolutions his giant to get another Carnosaur. And he just kept going. And it was like there was no sequence of events that could have won me that game. There's no sequence of events that could have won me that game because it was just like I needed to have a removal spell for every single creature that he had. But as soon as that Discover trigger hits the stack, it's like if his board's not clear, that's the game. And even then, if you do clear the board, you might have to deal with an Appraiser that gets hit off of the Discover.
Or even which they've started doing later, because I like in our testing, this was a great Gear Hulk was a great way to punish that game plan that you're doing of holding up interaction. Then at the end step, they play this huge flash threat and then attempt to get back a magma opus, and then that's a game plan all on its own.
Oh yeah.
Like that's the whole nother win condition. That's like
Oh.
I think creativity did that for a little. Creativity did that for a little while. Though they would just
Mhm.
cheat out a Gear Hulk with creativity and then just do that game plan.
Yeah,
So now
that was
either
a
you
whole
stop
deck.
if you can stop that, then they go off with the combo after.
Yeah.
So it was definitely like, yeah, the deck wasn't putting up crazy results, but it was definitely evolving. Innovation was there. They had even the interactive decks had to have the interaction in order to stop it.
Mm-hmm.
And
I
I
think
think the later versions of that deck were playing Dragon Lord Dramoka.
oh
So it's
yeah.
another similar game plan where you're just like holding up this interaction, and then Dragon Lord Dramoka comes out, and you're like, oh, so I
Oh,
have to kill this on my turn with my interaction that I needed to hold up for this combo. And
Right.
so yeah, so it wasn't it definitely wasn't great. Like, and I didn't like what it was doing to the format, even though I was like if they didn't ban it, then I would be the guy playing it. Like I
Yeah.
wasn't going to
yeah.
metagame. I
It's just
wasn't
too
going to
good.
metagame at all. I'm just going to play
Yeah.
what I had going on because I had some sweet stuff where like out the board, I just took out the combo and I put in like Narsets or like unmoored egos. So if I
You're a
go and
bastard.
discover
You're a
and try
fucking
and kill it
bastard.
to like stop the combo, and I just put in a Narset, and they have to beat the Narset. It was really good.
Oh,
It
that's
was
awesome.
or like against a mirror match, like they kill it and then it's like, more ego, or I'm taking all your Carnosaurs. I never lost a game to the mirror match like that or Quintorius. Which speaking of Quintorius, if
I
in
feel
that
like
same I want to say in that same vein where because like it's very similar, but I think the weakness of that deck is definitely being a turn too late.
mhm.
Because if we
I
were talking about like being able to establish a clock and hold up answers, being able to do that a whole turn earlier really makes it difficult for that deck.
and I feel like Quintorius, just looking at the card, it's giving me like obviously discovers a broken it's a fixed cascade, but it's still cascade in and of itself is a broken mechanic.
Fixed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's,
Different. I would say different. I don't know about fixed.
um, but to me, when I look at Quintorius, I'm like, this is a Jeskai control finisher. This is a card that I can play later in the game. It's going to accrue me card advantage. It's going to slowly but surely chip away as I'm discovering into some 4-drop or a 2-drop or just that's the kind of vibe that Quintorius gives to me.
Mm-hmm.
No, I think it'll be great in standard now. I don't know how.
Maybe not pioneer.
But I can honestly, my introduction to that card was like somebody playing red white Pia. They just like two
Oh
drop
god,
Pia,
with all
and
the
like
like,
it
rings of
discovering in standard was just insane because like that 2 mana life swing that Quintorius does multiple. It looked like Shieldred the first time that I had seen it, and I was like, wow,
Yeah.
that is pretty nuts. Uh, but as far as the combo aspect of it in the game, I think that there's a lot of decks that can compete against that because it's a turn later and a little less consistent, and honestly a little more vulnerable to just like not being able to win.
it's the I like to call it the Karuga issue, where you've got your deck and it's kind of higher on the curve, and like it's I call it the Karuga issue because every time I see a Karuga revealed, I'm like, oh, I've got 3 free turns. I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to go as fast as possible in 3 turns, and then we'll
Mhm.
just play the game after that. It's
Yes.
that problem where it's like you're like 1 or 2 turns behind, and if I can identify that, I can use those first turns to develop as fast a clock as I can, and then just like
And you just
inch my
tempo them.
way
It just
through.
dies. Those decks just die completely to tempo. That's why
Mhm.
spirits it had like I think geological appraiser, if I remember correctly, had like a 0% against Phoenix. It was I want to say it was either Quintorius or geological appraiser, but it was a zero. It was like 0% against that deck. I was like, wow, man. But I did play against it with spirit, or did I say spirits or Phoenix? I meant to
You-
say
I-
spirits if I didn't say spirits, but I when I played in my league against, I was like, yeah, there's no way I can beat this deck.
Well, yeah, no, this has been some exciting changes to Pioneer for sure. But
I'm
I
excited.
just wanted to say we've spoken a lot about Pioneer. There's some interesting shakeups there. The big one that I wanted us to spend a little bit of time on, right here near-ish the end of the hour, Fury is gone. We are done with Fury and Up the Beanstalk. Just the kind of little undernote there.
It feels like Beanstalk died for Fury's sins, and then Fury also died at the same time. It's like Beanstalk. It's like they had the rifle range up for Fury, and Beanstalk just walked in front as they were shooting.
Hey guys, what's going on? Yeah. It was going out to change its target at the firing range.
I wonder, as far as Beanstalk goes, there was a take I read where it got banned for the same like divining top in legacy reasons. It got banned because the games were taking too long.
Yeah.
And
fair point.
I haven't decided if I agree with it, but I like that take. That's an interesting take.
I don't know if I would equate that to Sensei's Divining Top exactly, because with Sensei's Divining Top, yes, I would say it was taking the game too long, just because it was you would resolve something and you'd have to think about it. You know, there was like, you'd be like, okay, I want to stack this way. Okay, well now this happened. Now I need to stack this way. And then that was chewing in a time. With this, you're just drawing a card. I think the problem with Beanstalk, especially with the evoke elementals, is your answers would draw you more answers. And then that's kind of what the problem was. Like, I mean, when I played against 4-color control many times, like back when I was on Murktide, and it was just, you feel hopeless against it, because you would sink all your time and effort into getting this one Murktide down, and then they evoke a Solitude, and usually that's balanced-ish, because they're going down a card. They're going down 2 cards to answer your 1 card. With Beanstalk, they just draw, they replace it, and if they have multiple out, they just draw, multiple to replace it. So then it just really feels just absolutely just incredibly bad. But yes, it also does extend the game quite a bit, because you're just drawing so many deadgum cards between that and the One Ring. So
it's supposed to make an inherent downside of those big mana Leyline, Solitude, Fury decks where you already have to pitch a card in order to actually use the Fury. It now makes it an upside because you're drawing multiple cards at the same time with very low. And that's another thing about like the stuff that's on this ban list. The stuff that's getting banned has a very low cost to entry to win the game. All you have to, it takes one thing to do and play it, and then you're already in a winning spot. Like when decks are like playing cascade spells in order to like get the one card out, then that card's probably pretty good.
Speaking of the one thing, that's like why Fury got banned. It's you would just evoke the Fury, Undying Malice it, and now you've got a 3-turn clock.
Yeah.
You got a 3-turn clock.
And a lot of decks just can't answer it. And and Fury itself too, another card that kept decks straight up out of the format. Merfolk is arguably one of the best decks in Modern. And I think Fury single-handedly keeps that deck down, honestly, because Merfolk looks so impressive and it looks so good on paper and playing against it. But as soon as that Fury hits the battlefield, it just goes into the trash.
My team had a lot of experience with that yesterday, getting thrown in the trash by Fury. I'm sorry, I've cut you off like twice now, Matt. I don't.
No, I was agreeing with
the connection. I get it.
No,
a little lag.
No, I was agreeing with you. Yeah, I was one of the Fury opponents that Drew had to play against. Yeah, it's really it's stupid when you're on the other side of Fury too, or when you're the one playing Fury, because it was like, I was playing against Drew. He played everything perfectly, and you just have Fury. It
does feel bad where it's just like, oh, you did all this work to build all this board up.
So
wipe your
okay, so
board and have a 3/3 double striker or 4/4 double striker. Who knows?
I do want your opinion on this thing. Do you think Fury it was worse for Fury to be a double pyrokinesis or to be a 4/4 double striker? Like
Are
what
you
do you
talking
think
to
was the
Are you talking to me or
just
David?
either of you? I just want either of your opinions because like pyrokinesis is not in modern. That effect is not in modern. The pitching to deal 4 however you want to is not in modern. And it's interesting to me to think like we've had undying malice abilities in like we've had these kind of decks where it's like the Orzhov Ephemerate deck when Modern Horizons 2 first got printed. But to me, it's like I have a tough time deliberating on like which is worse, which is the worst offender for Fury, being a 4/4 double strike on turn 1, or potentially being a double pyrokinesis.
I think the pyrokinesis aspect definitely is what got it banned. Being a big body that's strong early on hasn't done anything for any other decks that can probably put arguably even more power out on turn 1 or 2. Because then it just dies to removal. But being able to also wipe the board and like swing games completely into your favor that you were like you were completely down on winning, pretty unreasonable if you, especially for a free card, most of the time, because you're getting basically, it's not even negative card value at that point because you're pitching 2 cards, but then you're like killing like 3 or possibly 4 depending on how the board state is.
It's like it's a fairy godmother card basically. It just comes in and gives you exactly what you need just to get you back. It's a fury godmother card basically.
And I think it was right to do so, especially with red black, because that was one of the cards that made it so that it was the best deck in the format against all decks, where it just kind of had like the combo aspect covered with the grief half and having being able to rip the hand apart, but then also having just an immediate like clock and killing off the other half of like decks that would actually could actually face against a double grief.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So just on the grief position, this is a really grand sweeping question that we don't have to go too terribly in depth for, but just like hot takes, like elevator pitch, where do you think like either scam goes from here, or and where do you what do you think like modern kind of pivots to now that we don't have to worry about Fury being here? Do you
I'll
think
let you
we're
go
Uh,
first.
I think there's just more creature decks,
Mhm.
in my opinion. That's the first thing that I think. I think there's some really good creature strategies. Yawgmoth definitely gets a huge boon by not having to worry about Fury. That and Hammer Time, even though Hammer Time was already doing okay against the red black strategy.
Ether Vial
Uh,
becomes unbanned
yeah,
basically?
yeah, yeah, exactly.
Hold on, I want to look. Did Aether
Exactly, Ether
Vial?
Vial, they probably shot up in price too. I haven't even looked at Ether Vial this
they
whole
were
time. Maybe they
they were
probably shot up in price. If they haven't,
$5
then
like a week
yeah,
ago.
I thought they were even less than that.
Oh, maybe
From
they
what I
were.
saw. Oh,
Let me
but
see
yeah.
here. According to MTG stocks, Aether Vial, the cheapest Aether Vial printing is Iconic Masters, and it's sitting at a market price of $6.64,
Oh my
and it
Did
god.
it
does not
so?
appear to
Did
be.
it go up a
It
little
does
bit?
not appear to be spiking right now. It
Not
does not
spiking
appear to
just
be
yet.
going up.
Maybe. Well, this is
I
probably
think
one of those things where the rest of the metagame kind of also has to warp
Yeah.
around and figure out what's actually good.
I think we'll see it go up after the first Modern Challenge,
Yeah.
the
Well,
first post ban.
I am very excited to play Modern now. Like I'm excited to play Pioneer. Like I mean, Pioneer and Modern are basically, well, Legacy's my favorite, but like Modern and Pioneer, I'm very excited to get back into like either one of them.
It's always
Like it's
it's always fun to hop because it feels like it's a fresh format again.
yeah.
It's like
Mm-hmm.
there's so much new stuff that's now been unlocked. I think so. Going back to the question you asked before, I think red black scam ceases to be a deck. I think the whole idea,
Completely
the
gone.
scam, I think it becomes. I think there will be a red black mid range deck, but I do not believe it will be scam. I do. I think that they will probably play a number of griefs, but
There's still like a blood moon.
I
Does it
think
probably maybe leans more into the blood moon aspect of it?
I think, and if anything, they could probably go a little taller. I could see red black turning into like some of the legacy mono black decks, where it's like your top end is Shieldred and Ring,
Yeah,
and
there
like
is already like mono black and modern, so
Yeah.
that
yeah,
makes
so
a
like
lot of sense. I think I was
and so,
actually seeing that people already testing that scamless scam, essentially
mhm.
just red black mid range, and then I saw 4 rings, and I'm like, God,
Yeah,
now we
it's
just have
just
to
kind of
like deal with
it's just I think
back
the
to the ring
scam like
format.
I think all the the whole scam package just disappears. I think some people are gonna play around with doing the ephemerate like red white black Stoneforge thing way back in the day, but I think scam as a deck ceases to exist. I think it turns
It
into red black
Ephemerate
ring.
does sound pretty good with Orcish Bowmaster. We'll say that.
Yeah, so I can definitely
Sounds
see it
almost like
being
Fury a little bit, where it comes in, flicker
like a
it, and
little
then rebound
mini
it, flicker it
tools.
again.
Yeah, and you get a 4/4. You get a four
Yeah.
four at the end of all of
Is it
it.
3/3, right? How that works? Because you like
You
enters and
get
then
one,
army and then get a counter
two,
on it
and then,
and then
yeah,
get
so it's
another
three. You get a
3/3.
three.
That's still
Uh,
pretty good.
yeah.
I think people will play around with humans again. I agree with you. I think Merfolk becomes the premier creature deck of the format. It's
Well, there
gotten
is
some
still Yawgmoth, and
well,
Yawgmoth also
yeah.
like
Yawgmoth
does
feels
good
more like
against
a
creature decks.
toolbox than it is like a creature deck.
Oh,
Yawgmoth
like
feels more like a
the
toolbox.
Coco decks,
Yeah.
more or less.
But Merfolk has gotten some really good tools. I think it's finally getting the spotlight it deserves.
It's like the
It's a
fairy deck now. Like
yeah.
it's the creature tempo deck
Um,
that
Hammer Time remains where it's at. Hammer Time is like still a very sleeper deck. I think it's still a good deck. Rhinos. Rhinos now loses a good tool in its arsenal.
Oh, it does hurt
Um,
rhinos. That's actually a good
hurts a
point.
little bit.
Didn't even think about that.
I would think that deck it was fine.
it,
Oh
That was
yeah,
one of
no,
the
it's
decks that like it
fine.
wasn't
It's
built
yeah.
on the back
but
of
it's
it,
not.
like
But,
Rakdos was, or even like Four Color, and
but
even
I think
Four
it
Color is
goes back.
arguable.
I think
Yeah.
Four Color has to like go back to some of its old roots,
Hmm
and I think at the
Because they don't
very,
have
but
beanstalk
I think
now.
it goes. I think it goes down a couple of notches until people start to figure it out again. And Amulet remains extremely powerful. At the
I know
very,
Tron's happy not to have to deal with scam anymore.
oh yeah,
I'm sure that
Yeah.
deck.
I am. I meant to say this way earlier, but oh boy, I'm so happy Amulet didn't get a random ban.
Yeah.
It feels like
Analyst again.
Amulet, no matter how many cards you ban out of it, until you ban Primeval Titan, that deck is going to remain. Until you ban Primeval Titan and Amulet of Vigor, that deck is going to remain powerful.
Yeah, and that has me got me thinking now about Living End in that
Oh
format,
yeah,
because that's another deck that was kept down by Scam a lot. And
Mhm.
that deck was arguably the best deck in the format before Scam actually found its popularity after the Pro Tour.
Mhm.
And nothing, I mean, they still got Grief. Like, that's one of the decks that I'm sure people were like really happy that if Grief got banned, then it also hurt Living End as well. So
Yeah.
yeah.
who
Living
knows
in
how the format, and the Living End has a great matchup against a lot of the format. So who
oh,
knows
I
how
know.
that's going to affect it.
Living End is like unwinnable for Titan. Living
Hmm
End is unwinnable for Titan. Like I have to
Exactly.
have the only time I've ever consistently beat or brought it up to a 50 matchup was when I had 4 endurances in my sideboard. And even then I still couldn't win some like
Yeah.
a good majority of the time.
Because you still got
But
to get them at that point.
so remembering Living End, I think Living End replaces Rhinos as the premier Cascade deck in Modern. I think until
Okay.
Rhinos can develop a few more tempo tools, I think people will be Shardless Aging into a Living End rather than a Crashing Footfalls.
Mhm.
Okay, I'll respect that. I will
Mhm.
definitely go along with that.
Yeah.
Well, so so that covers the modern bands for Explorer. I mean, I think the points stand for Explorer compared to Pioneer.
So
It's just
this,
like Pioneer. So
I
Oh,
do, I do
neither
want
point.
I want to add a quick note that the Explorer bands are going to be the exact same as Pioneer, except for the fact Smuggler's Copter is not on Arena.
oh, that's a good
That's the
point.
only
Yeah.
reason it was not unbanned, is because it's not in Arena, because they
Which is
didn't put
interesting
it.
because Kaladesh, they didn't put it
But
in Kaladesh
they
Remastered or
didn't put it in
whatever.
Well,
Kaladesh Remastered because it was banned in Pioneer.
Mm.
well, I'm actually glad you said it, man. This was a huge day, so I think it's okay that we're running a little bit longer here because there was a ton of stuff that happened today. I'm glad you brought up Arena because that is the other thing that I wanted to briefly
Oh
talk
yeah.
about. So, posted by Star City Games, by Nick Miller, all cards on MTG Arena period, are going to be legal in their own new format that is going to go live on December 12th, both in best of one and best of two, and it can be ranked, so you can get to Mythic on this. It is a new format called Timeless. And it is different from historic because that's kind of what everyone was scratching their head over. It's like, what's the difference in this and in historic? Is it is all cards, even like the special cards from Mystical Archives and stuff like that, and they have the original wording on them. So where they eroded Dragon's Rage Chandler to get +2 and +2 plus O, I think it's Dragon's Rage Chandler proper +2 +2. We're going to have Ragavan. We're going to have Mishra's Bauble. We're going to have all the Mystical Archive cards, everything basically.
So
And
even like channel.
well, I'm glad you say it. The only thing that they have, Timeless will start without 3 cards in it, to quote the article. Channel, Demonic Tutor, and Tybalt's Trickery. Those are the only
Oh,
cards that
I
they're
know
not
that
going to
gets
have.
Mythic.
And we're going to have the fetch lands. The fetch lands will be legal in this. That's
I
the other
so
big thing. So
I have the
Fetchlands are
perfect one.
in Arena?
yeah.
Fetchlands are on Arena?
Well,
Uh-huh.
they're either on Arena or they're coming to Arena with Cons of Tarkir because
Oh, fair.
they're
Okay.
bringing cons to Timeless. So
Okay.
I am hyped for this. I'm
Yeah.
very excited.
I
I think this
boy
is really
do I
cool.
have a deck. Boy do I have a deck for you. I played it in the arena. It was like the historic no bans free event or whatever. It's Ragavan, Dark Ritual, Shieldred, Ring.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all you need. That's all you need.
And
The rest of it can be fucking interaction,
Literally
Dolphy
anything
Void.
else.
Just fucking fill it in with whatever you want. Those 4 cards are on Arena right now, and that's how you get to Mythic. I didn't lose
you
a single game.
well,
Oh,
you want
good
to,
God.
since this is kind of hot off the presses, you know what else is going to be in Timeless? The upcoming Modern Horizons 3 set.
Ooh.
They're going to have Modern Horizons
Wow.
also. So it's crazy. It's funny. I think that maybe like that big like no band list historic was maybe them like testing the waters to see how this would do, because they ran that for a good little bit,
Yeah,
and
it
I
was like a
guess
week.
and people loved it from what I could tell. Like people
Oh,
were having a lot of fun with it. So
A
this
lot
is
of fun. All I saw from that was just channel decks, and I didn't live when channel. Or yeah, I wasn't playing when channel was like legal in Magic at all, and I was like, oh, that's why it's not legal.
yeah.
I was like, oh, this is why that we don't do this anymore.
Green, pay 15 life. Emrakul.
Yeah, that sounds like a format that definitely will have a hefty ban list after its
Yeah.
Yeah.
creation, because that sounds like just busted stuff waiting to happen. So it includes like alchemy cards and all, like everything on Arena.
I'm looking over the article.
I think
Per,
as
okay.
small tangent. I think also natural order. and Craterhoof are also programmed on Arena.
So
You could play elves. You could play elves into like traditional legacy elves.
so these are direct quotes from Nick Miller's article in Star City Games. So Timeless is a constructed format arriving on December 12th that permits any card on MTG Arena to be played, whether the cards come from bonus sheets like the Mystical Archive from Strixhaven School of Mages, Enchanting Tales from Wilds of Eldraine, or cards from upcoming sets like Modern Horizons 3. Players can use them all. Timeless will be non-rotating and use the printed versions of all cards that exist in tabletop. So cards like Dragonlance Channel, One Ring, we've kind of already touched on that. As all cards on MTG Arena will be legal, Timeless will use a restricted list similar to Vintage. Cards on the restricted list are limited to a single copy in a deck, whether in the main deck or the sideboard. The restricted list for Timeless will start out 3 cards. Oh, so they are legal. Okay, I misread that. So they are Tybalt's Trickery, Demonic Tutor, and Channel are legal. They're just restricted. So it's okay. So that's a reading through this. Okay, so yeah, it is everything.
It'll be fun. Like a lot of people are going to enjoy that for sure. Like, I think Arena's probably started. They've done good things and about switching around, doing special events and stuff like that. But it's definitely I think people have probably gotten stale with Arena a little bit.
I originally went into Timeless thinking like, oh, this is stupid. It's another Arena format, but you have convinced me. Thinking about this, you've convinced me.
I am incredibly excited.
Pretty good time.
Yeah, no, I'm very, very excited. I love Arena. I think, well, okay. I like Arena when played in moderation, when I'm not like just ladder grinding all the time. Like I think it's a great way to get a Magic fix in, especially since on mobile or like play a Pioneer deck that you're thinking about playing. Now with this, it's almost like you're playing Modern in a way, in a slight way.
Honestly, it kind of felt more like Legacy.
Yeah,
kind of felt more like playing Legacy when I did the no ban historic, like a no dual, no reserve list Legacy almost.
Yeah,
just without like free spells essentially, because Force of Will isn't in Arena, right? Yeah,
no.
Neither is Force of Been...
Yeah, so it's like missing that free spell aspect. You still gotta pay mana for your spells, but
you gotta.
Well, we are getting Modern Horizons 3 though, so I mean, and
I think they've learned their lesson. Because Lord of the Rings was supposed to be like their Modern Horizons type set, and they did a relatively good job at keeping the power level of. There's some incidental, like some of the stuff that ended up being pretty solid, like the Lorne reveals and then the rings and the Bowmasters. Like, okay, but they're at least like you at least pay mana for them, I guess. So it's not that egregious. But I think like Arena is probably going to kick up a lot too, because the standard RCQ season is going to be coming up next year. A lot of people are going to be playing a lot more standard, and standard's looking. Everybody who I know that plays standard loves it. I love it in turn 2. It seems good. Them extending the format for another year was perfect for people who actually want to get in and keep their cards.
It's a lot better for people on a budget. Definitely, you're holding on to your investment longer.
I've been enjoying standard a ton. This has felt like one of the best standards since like Ixalan to Ravnica Allegiance, like the one, not War of the Spark, but the one right before War of the Spark. It's felt like that kind of standard format where they're like, it feels good. It
feels like you're actually like doing something with your Magic cards instead of just playing a 2-mana 2/2 or whatever. Yeah, I think the power creep of Magic definitely helped out standard, make standard more enjoyable, because you're having more games where you actually have to just think about, and you're able to like build decks, and like you're obviously your super busted cards or whatever, but there are cards that are starting to like combat those strategies. I've been really impressed with like the blue-white tempo deck that is
Zori
kind
Soldiers
hopping on the scene. Oh, well, there's that, and they got actual just straight up blue-white tempo deck. It's got its own Smugglers, Copter, and Schooner, which I think Schooner probably was like their test. Is like, is Smuggler's Copter too good? Maybe we can put down Schooner and see if it breaks the Pioneer format, and it didn't. So they were like, all right, bring back Smuggler's Copter. It's fine.
It's a blue-white mid-range list. It's got like Spyglass,
Okay, I did see
Siren,
that.
Dennis, Tishana's Tidebinder. The top end is the Virtue of Loyalty, and
So it's like a blue-white flash deck of
Yeah.
sorts. A lot of
Yeah.
flash threats and plays its tempo game, but also just can
And
win the game.
one more plug for standard, and I think we can call it. It feels so like you think it's nice to like resolve Atraxa, like Oath of like if you play Legacy or Vintage Oath into Atraxa, or like Neoform into Atraxa, or Reanimate Atraxa. It feels so just insane. The amount of like ego boost I get when I hard cast Atraxa playing Domain.
Tap all of your
It
mana.
just feels so. You just go land. Boom,
Yeah. Just
boom.
5 domain angels because you got just cavernous souls, so and it's uncounterable
Yeah,
now. The
it's
only
so
answer.
easy. Oh my god.
Still
It
PvP
feels
Tidebinder.
so good.
I think the first deck that I'm playing in standard.
Tidebinder me. It's a 7/7.
I think the first deck I'm playing in standard is definitely red green dinosaurs. Yeah,
Oh,
like
right
the
there with
Land of
you.
War
I
Elves
love
in
that.
standard. It's you can never go wrong with a Land of War Elves in standard.
It reminds me. Did you ever play the mono green aggro deck from Dominaria Standard? When
Oh
Lana
yeah.
Werewolf,
Oh yeah.
it was like Lana Werewolf into the 5/4, the 3-mana 5/4 that can't be blocked by 2
Steel
power.
Leaf
Oh,
Champion.
Elf is
Oh my
so good.
god!
Yeah, like
And
there's
then
just reasons why they don't print Elf often in standard. It's that's power creep right there. When did they start bringing those back?
So
Richard
last
Garfield was able to grease a wheel to get Lana Werewolf back in.
so the last little thing here, and just really this is just kind of a notice to people who may be watching, just so that we can touch on just about everything. Murders at Karlov Manor, the first standard legal release of 2024, is going to release on February 9th, and I think they said they're going to start spoilers for that. Let me see. There was some release about it. Let me look at that.
Oh, are they gonna start it like this year, like this month?
That's what I'm not sure of. Let me
I think
let me
it'll
see
probably
that
come
article.
after the new year. I hope so because it just feels like Christmas time. It's like the Magic's kind of wind down where it's like, all right,
They
we're
got some
just
fun art.
Yeah,
Oh,
I think maybe that was the release that happened today. It was just they were just posting some art from him, but it
Yeah,
looks
that's
cool.
fun
It's
art. It
interesting.
looks fun.
I
But
didn't realize it was going to be on Ravnica because like I was like, oh, Markov Manor, it's on Innistrad, and I saw like Massacre Girl and the Boros Angel, and I
my
was like,
I'm so glad you mentioned that. I actually commented on Facebook on this. It's so funny. Like if the idea of Murders at Karlov Manor is it's a murder investigation, they're trying to figure out who killed who. We have this guy, and this woman that goes by Massacre Girl. I wonder who could have killed this
It's the
person.
red hair. She's just got the blood on her hands still. Like, what
What
happened?
what a baffling case this is.
It's too obvious. That's how you know she didn't do it.
Oh, but no, that looks fun. That looks fun.
all
But
right, so
I think. Go ahead, sorry.
Oh no, I was going to do my wrap up. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, no, I'm going to wrap it up as well. So yeah, no, this has been a very fun, very jam packed episode. But there was, as we said, there's a lot of stuff that. Oh, we got to do the game.
All right, so we can't end without a game of name that card on my desk. Name that blue card.
A blue card. Is it a creature?
It is not.
Is it an instant?
It is.
Is it in standard?
It is not.
Is it in Pioneer?
No.
Is it play? Is it in Legacy?
It is legacy legal.
Okay. Is it played in Legacy?
Okay. I know the question you're trying to ask. It is not modern legal.
I
It is
swear to
not
God,
modern.
if this is going to be like some like draft instant from some
It is.
unknown set.
It's legacy. Look, I don't have a lot of cards from that are not legal and modern. I have a legacy. I have a. It has not been printed in a set that could be considered modern legal. It is legal in legacy. and vintage for what it's worth.
Okay. All right.
Will?
Huh?
Is it Force of Will?
It is not Force of Will.
Oh. Days?
It is. I was about to give you a hint. It is the same mana cost as Force of Will.
Okay, so it's 5 blue instant, and it's legal in Vintage and Legacy, but not legal in Modern. Okay, so it's an older one. So, does it counter a spell?
No. It is
Oh,
not
what?
a counter spell.
He had thought about it for a second. I'm like,
Does it? Okay, so it doesn't counter spell, so it's not.
does it redirect a spell?
It does not.
Okay, I forget the name of the. I wouldn't have even been able to say the name of the card that I was thinking of.
Does it tap or untap things?
It does not. No.
What the fuck kind of card is this? It's blue.
Is it?
Yourself,
Are you going to give another hint?
I will give you one more hint. The card you were looking for was Misdirection, and it shares a quality with both Misdirection and Force of Will.
I hate them.
It shares a quality with both Force of Will and Misdirection.
So
I
aside
assume
from
it's a free spell or it has a mana reducing aspect to it. God,
some sort of free spell that costs 5, but it doesn't counter anything. It doesn't tap or untap anything. So, do you pay? No, you don't pay life because Alliances was the only one that did that.
You've lost me at this point. I'm not too versed in Legacy.
Matt's gonna kick himself if he guesses right.
I'm trying to think. Like it's.
And yes, it has seen play in Legacy lists.
5 mana, blue.
Is it Mind Goblin?
No.
5 mana blue instant. You exile.
It's actually,
do you discard something to cast it, or do you exile something to cast it?
Neither of those things.
Neither of those things. Okay. Do you pay life to cast it?
Nope.
Oh. Can it be free?
Yes, that is the quality it shares.
Does it mill cards?
It does not mill cards.
Oh, that was you know, as soon as you said that, I was like,
thinking
oh,
Archive Trap for
Archive Trap. I was like, man,
but Archive Trap is Modern legal.
You're right. Yeah, I think that's probably what cut it out of my mind. Even though I thought it was
everything
smart.
except what the card actually does.
Does it make creatures?
No.
It actually does.
It doesn't.
Does it bounce something?
It does bounce something.
Is it Snap?
No.
Snap is Snap? What's the card
mana.
that's similar to Snap? God, I can't remember.
5 mana.
I feel like it's true.
So
yes.
We're so close. We're like, he's looking at it. It's like, God, like you're right there. Like it's so. Oh, the chat's probably going crazy right now. The comments and YouTube are going crazy.
I will say, if Tristan is watching this, Tristan knows what this card is.
So it was played in Infect. Was it played in Infect?
It has seen play in Infect.
Okay.
It's also seen play in Delver.
Oh, that's all you.
It's Submerge. It's Submerge.
It is
okay.
Okay. I was about to say. I was like, man, I can feel like I can picture the gist of that card in my head.
It's Submerged. So
you
the
said
funny
Delver,
story,
and then.
Yeah, I was like, I knew that was the one hint where I was like, all right, if I say this, Matt's gonna get it.
Do they still play that? Is that still Legacy? Is that played in Legacy?
No, it's not played anymore, but like it used to be played. It is?
Yeah, it is. Well, I mean, I've never liked Submerge personally, but like it's still played periodically when Dark Depths start showing up more and more. You just like bounce Merit Lage. Like it's shitty, but like it's
But, okay, so the story behind this card. The story behind this card is, and the reason it's on my desk is, I was in Ohio for Christmas, I think 2 years ago, and I went to an antique market, and in one of the glass displays, they had these like packs of old Magic cards, not like packs, but like someone's old like shitty commons were in like a little sleeve thing, and they're selling them for like $5. And I was like, you know what? I got a $5 from grandma. I'll go, why not? I'll buy some Magic cards. And it was a bunch of like commons. Some of them were foreign, all trash, except there was a Submerge in there. And I was like, well, I
Got
paid
your money
for
back.
it.
Yeah.
I got my money back. It's a $5 card.
Okay.
And
Oh,
it's
wow.
on my desk because I was cleaning out some Magic cards. So
Well, that
That's
was
a
fun.
fun story.
playing along.
But yeah, no, that was fun. So yeah, no, this was a great episode. Thank you so much, David, for coming
David.
over and chilling with us and talking some Magic and going over some things. So yeah, no, anytime you want to hop on and chill with us or talk some more Magic or whatever, just hit us up.
Oh, dude, I
But
would love to, man. Anytime.
Oh,
Like I
absolutely.
said, I love what you guys are doing, and I think
Well,
it's
thank you.
amazing. So the more I can be a part of it, then
Oh,
yeah.
absolutely.
Anytime.
Yeah, we love to. I really appreciate having your insight. Pro Tour competitor David Dunham on the on the podcast.
Hopefully, again, Atlanta's coming around the corner. We've been doing a lot. I've been doing a lot of practice for it, so we
Yeah,
gotta. I mean, I feel like I've literally got to restart the engine now. I've ever since they had that whole live stream announcement that they were going to ban this stuff, I just shut down. I dropped all Magic. I'm like, I'm picking up Call of Duty again, like play Warzone.
Oh,
And now Warzone's coming back this week with the new integration, and I feel like I'm just going to be playing Magic.
Peter Griffin's in Fortnite, baby.
He is.
I saw that. I was like, I saw the commercial for that, and I'm like, is this like a flashback that I'm watching? Is this like on the new episode of Family Guy, and I missed it?
About an hour ago, GTA 6 trailer dropped too. In case you haven't seen it yet.
I gotta go watch
It looks
that.
good.
What?
It looks good.
No, I've got to see that. That's amazing.
David, here's to you in your competition in Atlanta. Southern Magic is rooting for you.
Absolutely.
Thanks for coming on the podcast.
Good luck to you guys in Eternal Weekend.
Thank you.
And we're going to
Yeah.
All right.
Matt, do you want to do the honors?
Absolutely. So, as we always say, the best part about Magic is the gathering. And we will see you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.